My name is Vicki Bond, and I am the co-creator of the Zora and Me trilogy, an award-winning middle grade mystery series inspired by the childhood of American icon Zora Neale Hurston. What I'd like to do today is tell you a little bit about my novel, The Summoner, which is the final installment in the trilogy, and it will be released on October 13th, 2020. I'd also like to tell you a little bit about Zora Neale Hurston herself and give you a little assignment at the end of this video. So let's get started. First, Zora Neale Hurston is quite simply one of the most important American writers of the 20th century. Author of the classic novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, playwright, anthropologist, folklorist, reporter, Zora Neale Hurston produced a truly genius body of work that can be understood, I think, if you understand three vital things about her. So, number one, Zora grew up in Eatonville, Florida, which was the first all-black incorporated town in the United States. What this means is that in early 20th century in the American South, at a time where Jim Crow was rampant, Zora grows up in a place where black people are not second-class citizens, but in fact the only citizens, and where black people hold prominent leadership roles. This is something that influences and shapes Zora's writing and her thinking for the rest of her life. The second thing that it's important to understand about Zora is that she was a prominent figure in the cultural movement, the Harlem Renaissance. Now, of course, you know that the Harlem Renaissance was a movement that promoted and celebrated the history and the contributions of Black people in America. And what the Harlem Renaissance ultimately does is ushers into the mainstream the contributions of great African-American writers, thinkers, historians, and artists. Zora, of course, is an outstanding one among them. The number three thing it's important to know about Zora Neale Hurston is that she was a cultural investigator, that she was the first African-American woman to graduate from Barnard College in 1928, and she does so with a BA in anthropology. Zora studied under the famous cultural anthropologist Franz Boas, and Zora in the 1930s actually does some work on voodoo and zombies and takes a photograph of a woman who was believed to be a zombie in a hospital courtyard. Now, this was something that I found really fascinating and that has just stayed with me for years. This woman, her name was Felicia, and supposedly she had died years earlier. And she returns to her family of origin, and they confirm that it's her, but they don't know what has happened to her in that space when she supposedly died and when she reappears. And the fact that Zora takes a photograph of her makes a permanent record of what's unknowable in this woman's life and experience really touched me. And the idea of someone who is not quite living but not quite dead coming up in the lens of a camera is something that I incorporated into The Summoner, and it's something that becomes a kind of a central thematic piece of the novel. So the little assignment for you is, if you may have noticed, I'm wearing a shirt that's covered in the faces of brilliant Black women writers, and I think that's Roxane Gay, there's Maya Angelou, of course there's Zora, there's Gwendolyn Brooks, Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler. So the assignment is research a Black woman author. Find out something about when a Black woman author lived, something that they experienced, and hopefully it can widen your experience of the world we all happen to be inhabiting now. Thanks so much.